Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, the show that is part of the Simply Luxurious Life online destination. Visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, to find the show notes for each podcast episode, as well as much more weekly content to elevate your everyday and deepen your contentment. From recipes, motivational posts, videos of the cooking show series, style and decor inspiration, French and British inspired content, and the reader's favorite regular weekly post, This and That, which goes live on the blog every Friday. Now to today's episode. Welcome to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. I'm your host, Shannon Ables. And whether you're listening on your commute, exercising, working in the garden, or sitting down with a hot cup of tea or a café au lait, thank you for tuning in. Let's get started. Welcome to the 306th episode of the Simple Sophisticate, and welcome to the third annual British Week on the Simply Luxurious Life blog. And this episode is inspired by our focus on all things British. We're going to talk about Petit Plaisirs, but we're going to talk about it entirely through the lens of the British culture and where I've found I incorporate British ways of life into my routine and things that I've thoroughly enjoyed when I was over in Britain 3 years ago, now 4 years ago. Oh, far too long. But before we get to that, speaking of Petit Plaisirs, we will still have a Petit Plaisir that is unique and one I think you're going to thoroughly look forward to or have already enjoyed or didn't know about and will be able to dive into. This will all make more sense at the end of today's episode, so stay tuned. But what are Petit Plaisirs, first of all? Petit Plaisirs are defined by the French as a simple indulgence that brings great pleasure and enjoyment. And in English, the translation is an easy one. It's small pleasures, yet significant in their ability to elevate the everyday. This week on the blog, as I mentioned, is the Simply Luxurious Life's third annual British Week, always the third full week in May. And while, yes, the term Petit Plaisir is notably French, my affinity for the British culture is grounded in so many of the Brits' daily rituals, appreciation for nature, which surrounds them each waking day, and the dogged determination to keep calm and carry on, coined and released to the public in 1939 in an effort to steel the nerves and assuage the fears due to the impending war its citizens would be facing. As I sat down this past Saturday in my home, I was savoring a weekend that I would be able to spend entirely at home, and I was reveling in it. And I took a moment and glanced around myself, and I realized, although I've known this, but in that moment, it was very vivid that so much of how I structure my everydays welcomes British influences. Most seemingly simple, but others which have come about intentionally with patience and clear-eyed understanding of the comfort they would bring into my life and sanctuary. Today, I would like to share with you 25 British-inspired Petit Plaisirs, and please do share in the comments your rituals or routines that you have welcomed into your own life, which are inspired by your Anglophile predilections. Now, quickly, on the topic of Petit Plaisirs, I have added something new to the blog that I think both you, listeners of the podcast, and readers of the blog alike will appreciate. First, I want to give a tremendous thank you to a listener of the podcast and longtime reader of the blog, Margaret, for suggesting I create a specific category for Petit Plaisirs. While most are shared on a podcast episode's show notes, readers have had a difficult time finding the Petit Plaisirs they wish to further explore from past episodes. Now, I don't know why I didn't think of this idea sooner, but it has finally been created, and Margaret, you are to thank. So thank you for bringing this to my attention. Now, you will find in the archives on the blog a category titled Petit Plaisirs. You will find all of the Petit Plaisir posts that preceded the premiering of this podcast episode. And moving forward, beginning today, I will create a separate post for the Petit Plaisirs. I'll include it on the show notes. So you'll find the show notes and the Petit Plaisir all in the same place, but I will also include a separate post just for that particular Petit Plaisir, and it will be on that date, and it will be go into that particular spot on the archives. So just know that if you're wanting to go back and just solely look at Petit Plaisirs, you can now do that. And there were about 24 Petit Plaisirs that I posted beginning in early 2014 before this show came to be in September 2014. And so if you want to look and see what those were, check them out. That particular weekly weekend post, as it was, inspired the idea to keep it and to bring it to the podcast. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I've linked that on the show notes so you can see all of them in the archives. And now let's get to 25 British-inspired Petit Plaisirs. Number 1, a knitted or quilted tea cozy for the teapot. Now, I think I've talked about this before, but in my Instagram post yesterday, I shared an image you'll see on this particular show notes blog post. I had breakfast outside on my garden porch. It was just the most magnificent morning. Norman and Oscar were out there. Oscar came and went, but Norman stayed the whole time. And the birds were just singing, and I had my teapot wrapped up in its tea cozy, and I had my omelet and croissants and my regular steel oats breakfast. But it was the tea cozy that made a few people comment and smile when they saw it on Instagram. And it really is a little comfort that, yes, the function is to keep the tea warm a little bit longer than it normally would, but it also serves the lovely purpose of bringing you a smile. It just always makes me smile and feel really cozy. So that is our first Petit Plaisir, number 1. Number 2 is something we haven't had a lot of this spring in Bend, and I'm hoping we have some soon, the fresh scent of rain, and then followed by the much anticipated breaking through of the sunshine. If that's not British, I don't know what is. They obviously get a lot more rain than we do here in Bend, which is why I crave my time in England. I crave when I go to the coast here in Oregon, just being bathed in rain. I will walk in it all year long just to be in it. It just smells and feels and the returning into the house afterwards, that feeling too is just lovely. But as soon as that sun breaks after you've had your fill of rain, what a simple pleasure, right? Number 3, a sweet treat made from a recipe shared by Great British Baking Show's finalist Jane Beadles. Now, she has her own cooking school, and if you follow her on Instagram, she posts all these different recipes that she makes. Most of them are sweets, but not all. And I've just included one of her Instagram posts and a link to her blog or website. She made a dulce de leche chocolate tart. It looks amazing. And she has shared the recipe for it. So if you want to indulge your sweet tooth, and I've always been a big fan of the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off, depending on which side of the Atlantic you find yourself. So that's number 3. Number 4 is enjoying a cuppa and your favorite pairings, whether it's the newspaper or your breakfast, whatever it is, but enjoying them all in bed and just easing into the day. What a wonderful way to begin, say, a Sunday or a Saturday, maybe even a special weekday morning. Now, last year, one of the posts during British Week was a list of 18 ways to enjoy a good cuppa, and I've included a link to that in today's show notes. Number 5 is sitting in a pub enjoying a beer with good company. Yes, I did say beer, not wine. You know I love my wine, and I'm not necessarily someone who drinks beer, but when in Britain and in a pub, you gotta have a beer or an ale or whatever you prefer. And besides, the history of pubs is fascinating to me. I remember going into a pub in Maid Vale back in 2012, and this particular one, I can't remember the name of it. I know I put it in one of my posts, so I'll have to look it up. But we went in, and there were stalls around the bar. And I'm sure those of you that live in Britain know what I'm talking about. And literally stalls. So you had to duck down to get to the other side because they were divided back in the day for women to be on one side and men to be on the other. And the history of that just boggles my brain. And don't really remember drinking much or any beer. We were watching the Olympics at that time because they were in London, and just hanging out, with the locals as much as possible, or not the locals because there was a lot of international tours there. And I just remember learning about that as I was talking to the bartender and thinking, oh my goodness. So yeah, just the being in a British pub is a simple pleasure. Number 6, bird watching, listening to birdsong, anything to do with birds and appreciating their gifts of delicate, amazing beauty and melodious music. Like as I mentioned, what I savored yesterday with my breakfast. I mean, the birds have just been in a chorus of nonstop. When the sun's up, they are making all sorts of lovely tunes. And I listened to a podcast episode on Gardener's World recently where an expert on birds and nature spoke about exactly what the songs are all about, and it was quite fascinating. So if you're interested in birdsong and the history of it and what you're hearing, check out Gardener's World podcast. It was, I believe, an episode shared 3 weeks ago. I'll try to link it on the show notes. That's number 6. Number 7, an umbrella at the ready, which has stood the test of time. Handmade or a wooden stick, if at all possible. The history with that too. I mean, I'm going to bring this into our British Week next year, actually, but there are places where you can, as a gift to someone you know who loves the rain or Britain or whatever, have a handmade umbrella with a wooden stick of your wood of choosing. You can even put their initials on it. But those things are made so well, so sturdy. And just having that with you at all times, that would be a simple pleasure to get through your days, no matter what the weather is. Number 8 is snuggling up in a down and feather stuffed sofa or armchair, listening to the rain while sipping a hot cuppa, maybe even reading or watching a favorite show. Yeah, that's definitely a simple pleasure. That's something we do here often at my house with the pups. That's number 8. Number 9, any Nigel Slater recipe. How he writes them, whether you are going to make or cook or bake the dish or not, you're going to be lulled into a state of calm. His prose is just magnificent. It's not your typical recipe writing. I've linked all of his cookbooks. I have a few of them in my own house, and I've shared a few of his recipes that I've loved here on the blog. But Nigel Slater recipes. He has a lot of his recipes. I follow him on Instagram too, and his recipes are shared fairly frequently in different newspapers and online publications, and he will share the link to those each time they go live. So if you follow him on Instagram, you can see what his most recent recipes are. That's number 9. Number 10, meandering on the country roads in England that are lined with dry stone walls, whether you are on foot or in a vehicle. I remember seeing this for the first time during my second visit to England. The first time that I'd ever been to the countryside, though. Took the train, went out to Exeter, and then on to Ilfracombe, and stayed in a country vacation rental overlooking the Bristol Bay. And I remember driving because I rented a car. Number 1, I love that I was driving on the right side of the road, technically the left side of the road, meaning the right side of the car, the left side of the road. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get myself confused. That was fantastic. But I remember seeing the hillsides with those dry stone walls dividing pastures, but also, alongside each of the roads. And it just took my breath away. And I longed to return again. Something so simple, something that is in the backyard of Britons, but something you just don't see here in America. A lot of history there. Number 10. Number 11, roses. Simply cut from the shrub or the climber or the rambler in the garden and brought into the home to add a summer fragrance from the garden. So simple, but so lovely. I look forward to doing more of that this year as my roses mature. Number 12 is watching a cozy mystery set in the countryside of Britain. We have talked about this quite often here on the show, but also more frequently on the blog. And in fact, last year, the blog post titled The Art of the British Cozy Mystery, 16 British Cozy Mysteries to Enjoy, was an all-time favorite post on this blog. I've linked it and I've included that link on today's show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 306, if you want to check those out. And I would encourage you to not just read the post, but to look at the comment section, because so many readers shared so many other titles, some that I knew, but I just hadn't watched them, so I couldn't recommend them yet, but I've now watched them, and most of them I'm like, yeah. But they've shared so many others besides the 16, so I highly recommend you checking those out. Now, we still have 13 more Petit Plaisirs to chat about, but this week, during British Week, we have 6 giveaways, and I hope you sincerely enjoy exploring and submitting the potential for you to win these. Now, if you're a top tier subscriber, you have the exclusive opportunity to enter all the giveaways. The giveaways are only open to top tier subscribers. But you can also upgrade your subscription from basic or become a top tier subscriber just for the month. And then you can downgrade after this month's over or change your subscription entirely. These giveaways are all British themed or British made. And we already had our first one, which was announced on Sunday as we opened the week. And it was a year's long subscription to either Gardener's World, which is a value of $115, or to the English Home, which is a value of $30 for 6 issues. And so there'll be many more, and there are 2 grand ones. I have one big one at the end, and I have another grand one coming up midweek. But then there are also 3 others throughout the week. I hope you enjoy. So with that said, to support those giveaways, we have to have some sponsors for this episode. So bear with me. We have 3 supporting sponsors that I'm proud to have as sponsors of the show, and I'll be back on the other side to continue the list. Woodstock chimes were the first wind chimes tuned to specific notes, changing the industry forever from looks pretty and makes noise to looks pretty and sounds amazing. Founder and owner Gary Kifstad is a Grammy Award-winning professional musician, and the Woodstock chimes have been called musical works of art. With over 40 years in business, Woodstock chimes are sold in all 50 states and around the world. Woodstock Chimes Company offers chimes tuned to various melodies and musical scales, and each one is different and delightful. They also have decorative chimes, wind bells, gongs, fountains, and sun catchers to help you create tranquil spaces in your home or garden, and a line of personalized chimes that are laser engraved with your own message prior to shipping. All of them make great gifts, and you can listen to sound samples on the website and find wonderfully large, deep-toned chimes that really make a statement in your entryway or gazebo. Now, listeners of the Simple Sophisticate podcast have the opportunity to save 15% by going to chimes.com and using the promo code SIMPLE. That's Woodstock Chimes, the world's favorite wood chime. Go to chimes, chimes.com, use the promo code SIMPLE, and save 15% off your first order. Lots of things can make your workouts hard. Extra resistance, double speed, 1 more mile. Your socks shouldn't, though. That's why Bombas Performance Socks are built to be nothing but comfortable and supportive. Bombas Performance Socks have taken all the amazing innovations that make Bombas the most comfortable socks you've ever worn and added their special Hex Tech performance technology. Bombas Performance Socks are stitched with special moisture-wicking yarn and temperature-regulating vents that allow cool air to flow in and prevent overheating. They come with a pillow-like tab to save you from blisters, stay up on technology, a special arch-hugging system, and an extra layer of cushiony comfort on the bottom of the perfect amount of support. They come in different styles for every sport, with specific design features to help you optimize performance and keep you comfortable no matter what you're doing. And like all your socks, for every pair of Bombas Performance Socks you buy, they donate a pair to someone in need. They've donated over 45 million pairs so far. Yes, I am still wearing my Bombas socks and I am loving them. They go on my hikes with me. They go on my walks just around the neighborhood with Oscar when he needs his shorter walk. And they last. They're comfortable. They hug my foot just right. And I highly recommend them. Go to bombas.com/sophisticate today and get 20% off your first order. That's Bombas, BOMBAS.com/sophisticate for 20% off. If there's anything interfering with your happiness, or if there is something that is preventing you from achieving your goals, BetterHelp is here to help. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. Connect in a safe and private online environment, and you can start communicating in fewer than 24 hours. It's not self-help, it's professional counseling. I can share from my own experience. I've shared with readers on the blog. I have finally, after going through 2 different people, and they were lovely people, it didn't connect for us. My third find was the counselor for me. And since July, they've been helping me, or she's been helping me navigate through some big decisions in my life, making sure that I'm grounded, making sure that I'm clear, and truly listening to myself. So if you too are considering seeking outside objective expertise help, you'll get timely and thoughtful responses when you look into BetterHelp. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions, all without ever having to leave the comfort of your own home. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they can make it easy and free to change counselor if it's needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline counseling, and financial aid is available. They have licensed professionals in a lot of different specialized areas such as depression, anger, self-esteem, sleeping, relationships, anxiety, and so many more. And everything you share is confidential. Not only is it an expert you're working with, a professional, but it's affordable and it's convenient. Be sure to check out their website for testimonials. In fact, BetterHelp has been so successful in connecting people with a licensed professional in counseling that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. As a listener of the Simple Sophisticate podcast, start living a happier life, a more contented life today, and enjoy 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/simple. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/simple. Welcome back. Let's get right back into our list of 25 British Petit Plaisirs. Number 13 is enjoy a good hearty chuckle with watching a British comedy. We spoke prior to the break about British cozy mysteries, but their comedies are quite hilarious as well. The Vicar of Dibley comes to mind, and I have to thank longtime reader of the blog, Camilla, for bringing this series from the 1990s to my attention. I whipped right through all, I believe, 3 seasons in the holiday special, and it was just absolutely hilarious. Be sure to stop by the blog later this week as we'll talk more about some of the shows I recommend. Not the mysteries, we did that last year, but the comedies and the sitcoms. That's 13. Number 14, sitting next to a roaring fire after stepping in from the cold or rainy outdoors. Just that crackle, just that pop, whether you're stepping into your house that has a fireplace or stepping into a hotel or a lodge or a B&B or wherever you are, that is such a simple pleasure. Number 15, savoring an afternoon tea ritual in your own company and from time to time with others as well. But it's always regular, it's always often, and it's without exception. A reader just 2 days ago shared with me that it was Sunday morning when British Week began. They shared with me in one of their comments that they look forward to their afternoon tea ritual every single day. It's something they look forward to as they drive home from work, and it's something they enjoy in their own company. And I have another reader. She lives in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, Gabrielle. She shared as well that her comment with whenever her sister calls is with regards to, are you ready? Do you have time to talk? Do you have time to chat? She's like, I'm putting the kettle on. I'm putting the kettle on. So it's this simple, ritual that is just so peaceful. That's 15. 16, slipping into a hot bath as the rain whips against the window and or the house and just melting. Love that. Love that. Number 17 is anything with Mary Berry. So whether it's her series Simple Comforts, Country House Secrets, Mary Berry Cooks, obviously the Great British Bake Off, Every Day with Mary Berry. Most all of these are on BBC, and I've linked all of them. I thoroughly have enjoyed those. And she has so many cookbooks and books as well. Yeah, anything Mary Berry. Number 18, walking along the sand at any time of the year for its restorative, fresh air, and soothing sound. Speaking of doing just this, I remember visiting Woolacombe, which was near Ilfracombe, where I stayed in Devon, northern Devon. And it was the middle of November. It was actually almost December. And I remember being recommended by readers and different people to go visit it. And it was magnificent. I was on my own. I didn't have any company, and it was fantastic. There were a few people out because it was a little bit windy, a little rainy, not bad, but I didn't care. It was just stunning, absolutely stunning. I saw a few people with their dogs. Of course, it made me think about my own boys. But any time of year, I will find the ocean, I will find the coast. It is so restorative, and that air is just something you can't replicate for just breathing deeply and clearing your mind. That's 18. 19, time with pups or cats or horses or any other animal which is considered part of your family. Isn't this true? Just that cozy effect. I mean, that's, as we talked about in that post, what makes up a British cozy mystery. One component of the British cozy mystery is no animal is ever harmed, and no character that is liked or beloved is harmed. In fact, the people that are often murdered are people you don't even really know yet. You have never gotten to know them, so you can't be attached to them. That's one of the core tenets of a cozy mystery plot, which is why I love them. Number 20, vintage or charity or thrift shop perusing and finding something you didn't know you needed until you saw it. I remember going to my first thrift shop in a nearby town in Devon, and I wasn't looking for anything, but you're traveling and you like mementos. And I came across this butter yellow teapot for 2 cups and a cup and saucer. And that butter yellow teacup is one of my favorites. In fact, you probably see it in a lot of photographs that I post on Instagram or the blog. I think I paid $2 for the teapot and £2 and 1 cup for the teacup and saucer. Maybe that was reversed, but £3. That's all it was. I just was amazed. And those are some of my favorite mementos from that trip. Number 21, spending time in your garden and losing it as well. Time, that is, losing time. Been doing more and more and more of that lately. Spring is just such a fun time in the garden. Number 22, we've spoken about this a lot today already, but watching episodes of the Great British Baking Show or the Great British Bake Off. Looking forward to a new season coming hopefully this August or September. 23, enjoying a meal you made with your own garden-grown vegetables, herbs, and or fruit. Isn't that just the sweetest thing? So sweet. Not only is it inexpensive, but it's so flavorful, and you appreciate it so much because you grew it. Number 24, spending Friday evening or Saturday morning watching the latest episode of Gardener's World on BritBox or BBC Two. You knew I was going to share that one because we talk about it a lot. We've done a lot of talking about it on the blog, and anyway, I've wrote an entire post about the 7 reasons to watch Gardener's World with Monty, whether you are a gardener or not. It was one of the top posts of this year alone already. We're not even halfway through. That's on the show notes if you want to take a look at that. I love that. Saturday mornings is when I watch it. And then right after that, I'm motivated to go out in the garden. And last but not least, number 25, enjoy tea or breakfast, as I shared in the image on today's blog post, outside in the garden or on the garden terrace or garden porch or a porch, simply letting the birdsong be your background music, your pets be your companions, and whatever you are savoring, doing so with a cuppa and a pot of tea snuggled up in a tea cozy. That is a grand simple pleasure that we can do just about any time of the year. Weather permitting, yes, but we can do that inside too if the weather's not so great. I hope you enjoyed this list this week. And I hope you have many moments to savor everyday life, elevated by inspiration from the British culture. Now, we still have a Petit Plaisir for this episode. We cannot leave a new episode without a brand new Petit Plaisir, even though there was just 25 there that I shared with you. This one, though, is worth chatting about. So I'll be right back and I'll share that with you after this little jingle. So, my listening, viewing audience that's around the world, I'm going to share with you a series that is actually only available to those living in the UK, maybe Europe, I'm not sure, but I know for sure only in the UK as far as Amazon Prime is concerned. I cannot view it here in the US yet, but I do think it will be coming. So to stay tuned and be patient, I think this is worth it. And the reason I've chosen this one for Petit Plaisir for British Week is because of who stars in it. If you are a fan of Poldark, which I know many of you are, Adrian Turner is the star of this 8-episode series titled Leonardo. It is all about Leonardo da Vinci. And it was released back in March of 2021, so just a couple months ago in the UK on Amazon Prime. Each episode examines one of Da Vinci's artworks for hidden clues about a tortured artist struggling for perfection. Critics actually like it. Fans really like it. And those who've seen this video, which I'm going to share with you the audio of the trailer, if you're in America, are going, where is it? Why can't we see it? Basically, they're building the tension because I, too, am eager to watch it. So a little bit of a British inspired Petit Plaisir and a lot of an Italian, but even France, right? Because we know Leonardo da Vinci comes to France, into Amboise. So here is the trailer for Leonardo. Put it on your watch list. When it eventually comes available in the States, it will be worth it. Here we go.
You are Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes, sir.
I'm told you are exceptionally gifted, that the quality of your work on the baptism of Christ exceeds Verrocchio himself.
Oh, no, I'm a mere apprentice. What is the most noble endeavor mankind can pursue? The study of plants, the endless complexities of the natural world, the design of buildings in which to worship God. I don't draw like the others do.
You don't talk much like them either.
One discipline surpasses all others. My art is the noblest endeavor.
There's nothing more important to you than your work. Do you admit it?
I need a great mind, like yours.
You want me to play God?
I'm offering you the greatest canvas you've ever painted.
Some are taking bets.
What kind of bets?
That you'll never finish it. This portrait will live beyond you. How would you like to be remembered?
It's incredible.
You awoke feelings in me, feelings I didn't know I had.
You are under arrest.
Tell me about this woman, Caterina de Cremola. They say you poisoned her.
You must be a traitor.
If there is, we'll find him. Do you wish to hang?
I've made you into a god, Leonardo. You cannot forsake me.
I want myth and legend!
Only art can take the pain and suffering of our lives and turn it into beauty.
So this series was actually kind of delayed because of the pandemic, but it is available in the UK on Amazon Prime, and it covers, his relationship with the Medici family in Italy, the most powerful family in Italy there during the Renaissance. It talks about, his illicit loves, the betrayal by many people, and also the accusation of murder. There's so many different dramatic, focuses on each of these episodes. But anyway, I thought that would be a perfect one to mix so many other loves. We have art, we have history, we have British actors that we adore. Leonardo, an 8-episode season. Find the link to the details of that series on the show notes, the simplyluxuriouslife.com/podcast 306. I hope you've enjoyed this week's Petit Plaisir, where each week ideas are shared to make the everyday all the more enjoyable. Tune in at the end of each episode where I'll recommend a book, a film, a show, a recipe, anything that is a simple pleasure to satiate your sophisticated taste. And this will also be its own post, so you can find it in the archive section of Petit Plaisirs on the blog. Lastly, about this series, the creators behind Sherlock and the X-Files are behind this. So if that tells you anything, it's done well. All right, so British Week. It's on the blog. 2 blog posts a day, 6 giveaways. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I'll be back with a brand new episode the first Monday of June, which will be June the 7th. Bonne journée. Thank you for tuning in to the Simple Sophisticate podcast, where intelligent living is paired with signature style. For more ideas and inspiration throughout the week, visit the blog, thesimplyluxuriouslife.com, or pick up my latest book, Living the Simply Luxurious Life, Making Your Everydays Extraordinary and Discovering Your Best Self, now available on Audible and wherever audiobooks are sold, as well as in paperback and ebook versions. You can also pick up my first book, Choosing the Simply Luxurious Life, A Modern Woman's Guide, which is also available in paperback, ebook, and as an audiobook as well. To stay caught up on the most recent episodes of the podcast, blog posts, the cooking show, and receive exclusive news as well as an extra dose of inspiration to jumpstart your weekend, subscribe to the Simply Luxurious Life's free weekly newsletter, which arrives in your inbox each Friday to enjoy with a hot cup of tea or cup of morning coffee. Until next Monday, I'm your host, Shannon Ables. Bonne journée!